freediving is a great way. It's like this couch-free therapy without talking.
You are both a licensed therapist and a freediving instructor. How do these two roles inform each other?
So they both aspects. I teach people how to...
What is it being in the water that makes it such a powerful backdrop for healing?
It's a combination of... Freediving is getting you connected to your body in a safe way, provided you have. So, interoception is your eighth superpower. It is your ability to ties back into my meditation. Might not be so great for everyone.
I always knew that freediving could be more than just a sport. In fact, freediving has been a powerful tool for me to heal from my anxiety and panic attacks. So when I met Elaine Hicks, our guest today, and found out that she was doing research into the mental health benefits of freediving, I thought to myself, can we be best friends already? Now, Elaine is a licensed social worker and research psychologist, data analyst, freedive instructor, ocean lover, and she's presented her findings in workshops all over the world. And more exciting is she's developing a mental techniques masterclass for the Multinaul's freedive educational system. And exciting news, Elaine and I are co-hosting a beginner freedive retreat in Bali in July and in Taiwan in November. So if you want to find out more, listen towards the end of the podcast or click the link in the show notes or description. Now let's dive in.
Should we just kick off? Welcome, Elaine.
Nice to be here, Ray.
Did you watch Alexei's documentary?
I did.
Called Freediver.
I sure did.
What'd you think of it?
I thought it was poetic, and I loved watching Alexei perform and do his dives. I really do.
Not just perform though. I mean, it really showed off he's approachable, he's fun, and he's a very kind person. I think the documentary showed that. He's like on the status of someone like a Michael Jordan or Michael Phelps of his sport. And yet so still very humble, right?
It showed a different side to him, and the soft points, like the other side, the deeper internal stuff of why he's so driven to do what he's doing and carrying his mom's legacy, the Molchanov's legacy forward.
And his mental approach.
Yes, definitely.
But I guess also I like to give the caveat when recommending this film and talking about this film with people who are non-freedivers is that you got to understand, like, the risk that competitive freedivers like Alexei takes is different than what you and I do, or most of the people we know that freedive, and that, you know, Alexei can compare him to an F1 race driver, and we're like driving down a suburban street. Still risky, right? But the risk level is totally opposite sides of the spectrum, right? So I hate to anyone watching these films like Alexei's films or The Deepest Breath to think that freediving is out of reach for them because it's so dangerous. And if this was so dangerous, I wouldn't be doing this, right? I think it's a very, as a extreme sport go, it's quite safe. And that's what you'll learn in a freedive course, to do it safely.
Well, and it highlights still the competition aspect of freediving, even though this film was beautifully done. It was very poetic, and there was some beautiful language built into him having some playful dives. But I think, especially for beginners, it's important to know there's so many disciplines or types of freediving that's out there for them. And a lot of people, after they do their wave 1 or level 1 course, end up becoming just very solid 10-meter, 12-meter divers. And that's where all the fun stuff that is. That's where the magic happens. The dolphins, the turtles, the sharks. Usually, especially in Hawaii, we have the best shore diving. Well, I guess one of the top 5 shore diving spots of the world. You can interact with all the animals. 5 meters, you know.
And the turtles here in Chalucho, or like diving with the humpback whales, you don't really go that deep when you're diving with humpback whales, to be honest.
Yeah. So I think the movie did a great job of covering another aspect of competition diving, and but still it didn't really hit all of the like recreational freediving stuff. But that's okay. That's maybe we make the next documentary.
Time for another movie.
Yes, time for another movie.
But let's get started, huh?
Yeah.
On this intersection between mental health and freediving. So, what is your discovery story with freediving, and help you realize this had like a sort of a therapeutic benefit.
Mm-hmm. This is a crazy story, but when I grew up by the ocean. Every summer we're in Spain or Italy or Greece, running around playing amok, little kids, no goggles, no masks, no snorkel, just running around. When I moved to Hawaii, I decided I wanted to go snorkeling. So I went to a place called Nama Bay, which is pretty shallow. It's like knee height. And I put the mask and snorkel on, and at that time I was married. We went snorkeling, and I had a panic attack. And I mean, all I had to do was stand up, but it was just something about it was just so terrifying. And I did not go back. This was like 2011, and
I think
it's
for anybody who doesn't, I mean, here's how I describe a panic attack.
yeah,
You feel like you're about to die, but you don't know how to get out of it. Like you literally feel like you're going to die. And that's like the feeling. Imagine that and not knowing how to get out of it.
well, I couldn't breathe because, which is, you think, well, you had a snorkel in your mouth, but it was just so counterintuitive and there was all these massive fish running around. I don't know. I never experienced anything quite like that. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. So fast forward to 2017, a friend of mine's like, let's go snorkeling at Electric Beach. Let's go see the dolphins and play and frolic in the waves and have a good time. And so we would go 30 minutes, 40 minutes and go straight back in. But the real magic happened was during COVID. And someone told me of a secret place where there was dolphins. Now, I've always had, up until that point, I still had this fear of like really big open water. Close to the shore was okay. I was getting more comfortable with the exposure. So we're out 250 meters offshore. Middle of the ocean. There's hardly anybody around us. And it's so quiet. You can hear all of your thoughts above the surface. And my friend grabs my arm and we turn around and we see this pod of 50 dolphins coming in. And
Right at you guys.
right at us. I mean, dolphins, they have a reputation for being pretty cool, pretty chill, but also they have a bad side. I didn't want to be on their bad side. And I turned around and there was a couple of spearfishers next to us, and one of them dove down. And he was just cruising the bottom, going under the dolphins. And I thought, he's not afraid. He just went down there. I want to do that. That's going to be me. And so the dolphins came by. It was, of course, the most mystical, magical thing we could have experienced. They circled us. They were jumping and playing, and like it was really great. But a few months later, actually, as soon as the COVID restrictions were lifted, I took a freediving course. And when I took the course, all of a sudden it kind of hit me, the overlay of all the mental health work I had been doing, trauma work, helping people with depression and anxiety kind of on their journey, how this could be utilized as a potential tool or an answer for some people. Because in my opinion, I think 90% of the therapy process happens outside the office. It's you taking the tools you learn and making them work. And a lot of it's not verbal. And I thought, well, freediving is a great way. It's like this couch-free therapy without talking. Because you're bypassing these verbal centers in your brain. When you go underwater, right, and it's so quiet all of a sudden, all that noise is dimmed by the water going in your ears and putting some pressure on your eighth cranial nerve. And it quiets those thoughts. And that's why it's so powerful as a healing.
This is sort of like it's controlled fear and using some of the tools that you learn to handle these stressful or anxious situations. And so it's like, just like you practice any sport, this is like practice for when you're actually in a stressful situation or you're feeling anxiety, and it's a practical application, which can generalize and gain, strength.
Exactly.
And that skill that you can generalize in the everyday life, right?
Yeah. So I think it works kind of both ways. A lot of the freediving techniques that we learn work on dry land. And a lot of the dry land stuff that I do also works in the freediving realm. Like it works in the water.
What is it being in the water that makes it such a powerful backdrop for healing?
It's a combination of managing your breath on purpose with a lot of intention, maintaining a calm state on purpose, because we learn in our classes you cannot be reactive when you're in the water because it's very dangerous. You have to stay controlled and calm, even if you're uncomfortable. And those two plus the most powerful autonomic reflex that we have, your mammalian dive reflex, is the most powerful protective mechanism we have in our nervous system. And so when you're controlling your breathing, your breath holding, you're maintaining that calm, the MDR, the acronym for mammalian dive reflex or response, kicks in and drops your heart rate down and does like 10 other amazing mechanisms to your body to really enable a condition of relaxation for you in the water. It's effortless if you can lean into it or fall into it or flow into it. That's for me the magic combination there. And once you're in that state, your healing process can begin.
And I know you haven't read this book yet, but there's a whole book written about this called The Blue Mind. And it's basically using science-backed research, whatever, to prove anecdotally that we know already that being in the ocean or near the ocean or water is quite healing. And for example, when you step into the, as soon as you go in the ocean, your brainwaves will be similar to that of when you're in meditation. So calming. When you don't have the fear of the ocean and you're very comfortable in the water, it's so relaxing. And even it's an amazing painkiller. When I had fibromyalgia and I was doing my instructor certification course, I'd wake up like with pain all over my body, and I would be the first one off the boat to jump in because your body produces like this pain-killing chemicals. So it's yeah, in my experience anyway, super healing.
There's some clinical applications. I've seen some research study about using the MDR as a pain management tool.
Nice. Oh, like the facial ice immersion?
The cold face immersion.
Cold
Yeah.
face immersion, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We both have utilized that
Oh, yeah.
on
All the
occasion.
time.
But you are both a licensed therapist and a freedive instructor. How do these two roles inform each other?
So they both completely intersect. So in both aspects, I teach people how to self-regulate, which means I teach them how to listen to their nervous system, listen to their physiology, and learn how to change it through something called interoception. Teach them about their nervous system. And once we can get into regulating our autonomic, our normal responses to stress, we have all these patterns where we just have these kind of knee-jerk reactions to things. So we figure out what are those associated with, and then we have some very simplified body-based techniques, vagus nerve maneuvers, to help get back into self-regulation, which means you're in control of what's kind of going on. You can function properly. You're behaviorally, you have good vibes. You get along with people. You're not cranky. You're not snapping at tellers. You've got your keys. You turn off the coffee pot. You fed the cat. You have your kids. You have your things done. You're in your prefrontal cortex. You can problem solve. You're good to go. And
So
then
basically using freediving as practice to generalize into the
right. So that's in the therapy realm. So we do the same thing without effort in freediving. And we don't even call it those things. This is a freediving class. I'm going to teach you how to breathe so you have relaxation in your body so you can do your dives. And oh, by the way, while you're doing your dives, I need you to pay attention to the tension here. How's your equalization? What's going on in your throat, right? Keeping your head in proper position. So we're kind of doing the same process without using maybe those same words.
And so some people will probably let go better when they're not in their head about this being therapy for
Exactly.
I'm just freediving and yeah.
Right. And so what my skill is doing that same thing in therapy without feeling like therapy. It's almost like a functional physical therapy because it's body based. So that's what somatic work does. It's getting connected to your body in a safe way. Freediving is getting you connected to your body in a safe way, provided you have the right instructor, the right kind of environment, and the right support.
Now that we're on somatics, so like mind-body connection with, I think somatic therapy is becoming an important element in mental health and mental health sort of therapy. What does freediving do or help with in this mind-body connection?
Freediving helps you learn how to breathe better. breathe more efficiently. If you want a comfortable dive, you've got to do your breathe up properly, that relaxation phase. I think, what is it? 50% of our work is breathing, 50% is equalization. I mean, or if we made a pie, we would have technique in there and duck dive and whatnot. But the two things we're always training dry are equalization and breath work, right? We're doing static breath holds. So freediving teaches us how to manage distress. If we're
That's
doing
amazing.
breath,
Yeah.
it does. I mean, if we're doing breath tables, right? You're holding your breath. Let's say you have a 20 breath holds with 2 minutes in between, and you choose how long you want to hold your breath in each of those breath holds. You're choosing your stress. And then you're using appropriate recovery techniques, coping skills. And while you're in the breath hold, the CO2, the fire alarm of the body is telling you, hey, it's tapping you like, hey, dummy, you need to breathe. And you're going and saying right back to it, you know what, I'm okay for right now. I'm just going to give it a couple seconds. And over time, you're building up more and more tolerance to the distress, to where 2-3 minutes, you get to 2 or 3 minutes and then you're feeling discomfort, but you can still find the psychological distance between you and the discomfort that you can manage it. That is so powerful for day-to-day stress and all the things we have to deal with. And we want to take your freediving to another level. Being able to put that big psychological kind of window or space between you and distress, this is a game changer on so many levels for people.
From my own experience, I know that like it's breathe, being 40 meters down, 100 feet below the surface, panic is not an option, right? And the only thing you can do is relax, whether it's relax our mind, going through a mantra, or relaxing the muscles in our body. That has become automatic for me. When the dive starts getting tough, then I just default to relaxation. And I realize after a free dive, when I get into like a situation that's going to piss me off, like some like road race type of triggering situation happens, I'm just calm. I'm like, okay, cool. Still alive. There's nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Because we don't have a choice underwater. We have to stay physiologically calm, in a metabolic state of calm. And so we learn how to ease into that, ease into the let go. Because now we trust ourselves. We trust the free dive line because we know we can pull on it and take ourselves back up. We trust in our own capabilities. So then how easy is that to take and do in day-to-day life? So when you do have real road rage, when you're stuck in a 3-hour traffic jam on the way, this happened to me a couple of weeks ago. It was weird. I just sat there and I was like really angry and tight and like gripping the steering wheel. And I thought to myself, there's literally, you are on a bridge going to a tunnel. You can't turn around. There's no escape. You're going to sit here pissed off for 3 hours, or can you relax your body, listen to some music, and actually not work for a change? Just like take a break. But as soon as I felt all those tension points building up, I knew right away I needed to ease it all down, let it all down, let it go.
But that's
So
also
become
like,
a habit.
is that a good segue into teaching about interoception and recognizing like when your body is starting to get explain interoception?
So interoception is your 8th superpower. It is your ability to listen to your body through cues of tension, like shoulders up, you've got your butt cheeks clenched. Maybe you're breathing faster up here in your chest. Maybe you're swallowing faster, you're clearing your throat and you don't have a cold. Or you're blinking faster or you're not blinking at all. And then are you clenching your jaw? So we can get into our body really fast and really safe just by starting with blink and breath rate and swallow rate. And so interoception is listening to those signals of tension or not. So hot and cold spots. And then bringing energy where it needs it and releasing where it needs it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. After my first freedive course, when we learned the body scan, I realized, why am I holding so much tension in my shoulders? I would check in on myself once in a while just to see where I'm holding tension in my body. And it's like, why does it, okay, just relax that. Why am I clenching my butt?
Right. Like you're standing in line at the store, and now I have a bad habit of noticing where people are holding their tension. But you're standing there and you're like, got your ass squeezed so tight and your shoulders are like this. Like, what do you look like standing there? So I think unconsciously now I'm always releasing, scanning and releasing.
And so I realized like there is something in my past life that is making me as default in high alert, right? And so I
Mhm.
realized I need to delve into deeper. It does help that I can recognize that it's happening to me, but I also need to discover and do some deep work to figure out what the root cause is as well too. So maybe we can do that later.
That is my specialty, is finding the source of the distress. But I think the awareness of where it's at in your body and letting it go is a huge part of healing. And then we work in through the mapping exercises I've created. We go through the three zones of the nervous system and the freedive engagement system that I've created. And we kind of map out where there's tension and where there's nothing, and we, especially during depth rehab, it was a really powerful tool for the people who attended. And it revealed some hidden traumas that were influencing behaviors on the line today. And within 30 minutes, they had uncovered this without any pain or embarrassment. Like, talking about self-worth, and because there's some of these questions, it's like three sets of different questions that came up. And for one person, it was so much shame surrounding teeny tiny LMC. That meant in their mind that they were no longer a safe freediver.
And let's just rewind a bit. Depth rehab was a camp that Elaine and I did here in Taiwan for experienced freedivers. And part of, I guess, the camp was a 30-minute counseling or consulting session with Elaine about it. And I think a lot of people everybody took away a lot from that session, which I think in the next episode, we're going to do one recording.
On you.
Me. Can't wait. Shall we talk about the nervous system? I think I'm
Yeah.
jumping ahead a little bit here.
Yes.
I remember specifically that you were like, meditation is not for everybody, right? Like, I know a lot of people are out there saying you got to meditate, yada, 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 but it's not right for everyone. And
No.
you believe that the first step in healing or some mental health therapies is working on the regulation of the nervous system. Could you quickly give us a bit of an overview of what the nervous system is, why it's important to regulate our nervous system as a first step?
Yeah. So your nervous system is your brain, your spinal cord, and a system of nerves. Real simple. And they intersect. So the nervous system, it starts in your head. Everything literally really is in your head. So you have 12 cranial nerves that are responsible for your ability to connect, to find resources, to talk to people, to engage. By the way, those same cranial nerves are responsible for all of our freediving functions. And there's 5 in particular that are necessary for not only freediving functions, but also our ability to talk to people and get connected to them. So the nervous system is under polyvagal theory, and this is something I've overlaid onto the freedive body. It's 3 different zones, and then you have different portals. So your nervous system is a universe of you inside, and you have 4 portals of entry: your eyes, your ears, your breath, and your skin. And so this system, I know, your ears, the system of the 3 zones kind of really gives you like very specific information on how these 3 are working independently and together. So the nervous system's main job is keep you alive, safe, breathing, eating, going to the bathroom, and connecting with other people, maintaining homeostasis. The way it does this is kind of creepy sometimes if you really think about it. It is always like listening to what's going on in the environment. So your nervous system is always stalking your environment. Again, to keep you safe, to keep you alive, breathing, and homeostasis. So for some people, homeostasis means they are super intense, super reactive. They notice every sound because they have to do that to stay safe. But we get stuck in those automatic states. There's other people who are like Netflix and chill, ice cream, cuddles on the couch, keep it all quiet, because that's how they keep themselves safe. So we have this hierarchy of this system of the nervous system, and then there's neuroception and interoception. And then we want to start bringing those changes in. We've got to do that very carefully because, by the way, your brain is lazy. It hates change. And the best way I have found to change it, and here's where freediving comes back in, is through play. If we are playing, we are safe. And if we are safe, we can change our nervous system and regulate it. So we have better health outcomes, better breathing, lower blood pressure, less migraines, and improved health all around.
And I think freediving is basically just exercise for your nervous system.
So,
And I think, as an aside, I believe that the human body has an amazing innate ability to heal itself. But it cannot heal itself when it's in the sort of fight or flight or the stressed out state, because it's using the resources to fight off the danger or the stress that they perceive. And when you are able to downregulate your nervous system, downregulate the sympathetic response and become more relaxed and more calm, then that's where your body's like, cool, we're chill now. Now I can work on healing these things, right, in the body.
You're right. It's kind of a simplified way of saying that, because for some people, when we take them out of fight or flight, they completely collapse from exhaustion, from the illness they were fighting off, from all the stressors they were fighting off. So I think I've seen that happen in the freedive space as well. And so kind of being aware of that and how quickly, and this ties back into why meditation might not be so great for everyone. If you've been living in a low state of high vigilance or hypervigilance for a long time, and I take that away from you very suddenly and your body's relaxed, that's dangerous for some people. Because now they're going to fall back into parts of their body they have been in a while, and it can feel very unsafe for them. Or if they fall into such a relaxed or rest and digest state, they might have intrusive thoughts or flashbacks or memories come up that they were holding away. And that's why people with trauma often have sleep issues. Because as soon as your body falls into relaxation to go to sleep, your defense mechanisms are gone. So that's why meditation is dangerous.
I could see it wasn't, so I did meditation, and when I start doing it very well and start really seeing the benefit in terms of focus, because I have a little bit of ADHD and I'm very focused, I have this bit of anger and this grumpiness that emerges. And that kind of freaked me out. And I kind of like backed away from the meditation, because it was like, I was, Sheila, my wife, I would just have this anger towards her during that time. And it didn't, manifest in anything. It's just inside. I was still able to keep it inside, but this is not a good feeling that I wanted to have. And, it was supposed to be meditation solves all your problems, but I was like, it's creating more problems for me, man.
Yeah. And then, not even speaking of people who might have thought disorders or like schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorders, or, disorders or mental kind of changes that have happened from different things where they hallucinate or they're not sure what the shared reality is. And we don't ever want anyone to be more confused or hurt by a practice. So I'm not saying it's never do it. I'm just like, person fit. If it works for you, that's really great. Just don't push on anyone else unless you know that they'll be okay. And a lot of times, when I've meditated, sometimes I'm afraid I'm not going to come back because I go somewhere so deep and far away. And I kind of imagined, what would that be like if you were having hallucinations that were not controlled with medication? That'd be really scary, because then how would you know you were back or not?
And there's not a lot of resources out on it, because I looked this up deep on the internet to try to find answers to it, and I couldn't find any answers to what I was feeling. And it was fortunate that I didn't have any severe consequences to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, meditation, great tool for a lot of people, but
yes,
maybe not for all.
And I've seen some people who've done those 10-day retreats and 40-day retreats and come back very changed people, very angry, very grumpy, very irritable, not very disconnected from themselves. So yeah, I just think being careful, especially if you have a history of different mental health things going on, just be careful. Yeah. And learn how to self-regulate first. And then you can learn to relax, because then it'll be safe to relax in your body.
Well, so like if you learn to relax and then you start feeling unsafe, then you go to the self-regulation tools to make yourself feel
That
safe, right?
works both
Okay.
ways in that aspect. Absolutely. Because if you are doing a meditation or any kind of practice, and you start feeling uncomfortable or you have thoughts coming up, then you have tools to kind of deal with that. Just like in diving, when you just mentioned, we're down 20, 30 meters, and all of a sudden, I've heard this from some students, they have this really terrible intrusive thought. Now, on dry land, we respond to intrusive thoughts very differently than we would underwater. And we've got to create that space for it to sit there and not react to it. Because if we react, we're in danger. But it's still there. So what do you do with it? How are you going to manage that?
So speaking of fear, I think, even when I started my freediving journey or freedive class and thinking about holding my breath, that was kind of scary. And I also, I grew up in the Jaws era, and any body of water I go to and I can't see the bottom, I get very scared. So, and I think a lot of people would have similar sort of trepidations to learning freediving. What strategies do you recommend to move past these fears, initial fears from learning free?
I think getting educated on the fear itself. What are the
So
things
learning about your urge to breathe.
So, yeah, so I think that really is putting the pressure back on the freedive instructor. We need to teach folks, like in the dive plan, especially, we're going to this beach in this location for this amount of time. This is the type of water we're going to face. We're going to tell them about the visibility, what kind of animals we might see, what is our escape plan, how are we going to take care of each other, what's our formation going out. We're all not just like willy-nilly swimming out to the dive site. I put everybody, I try to keep them in a formation so we're close to each other. We look like a pack or a big school of freedivers, right? And then we give them as much predictive control and knowledge as possible of the area. That takes care of a lot. Then here in Hawaii, especially, the first thing people say is sharks. Honestly, that's not your biggest danger. It's going to be the current, coral, and other divers if they're not paying attention, if you're on one of the busier spots. So we tell
Or
them
boats over here.
boats.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely boats. So yeah, if you educate people to the nth degree, and I've had feedback from my students, I neglected one class to tell them, oh, the water is kind of green and murky, but once you get to 10 meters, it's crystal clear and beautiful. And one of the ladies started having some pretty severe anxiety. So I went to talk to her, and she's like, you didn't tell me it was going to be this bad. But I was so used to it. It didn't seem bad to me. Felt like
The
home to
visibility.
me. But the visibility is a huge, huge predictor of people's ability to stay relaxed enough. Also, try to, two things can be true at the same time. So having this cognitive flexibility. Okay, we're in the ocean. We are 200 meters offshore or 100 meters offshore. It's 20 meters down. I have 3 dive buddies really watching me. So I feel safe knowing that they would come and get me or tell me if there's a big animal nearby, or I have my dive buddy. So I can be unsafe and safe at the same time. I can be safe with these conditions in place. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, there is some danger to the sport, but
Yeah.
it's all about educating yourself how to mitigate those dangers to as small as possible, right? And to have plans for when things go wrong, like the ghost nets, you get caught up in a ghost net. We have knives that you can go break it up.
Right. And I converted to a freediving SUP, a stand-up paddle, but it's not, you don't stand up on it, but it's for freediving. And it's like 16 or 17 foot long. It's huge. And we can sit several people on there, and it has like straps and D-rings all over the place for people to hold on to. And so the key, and what I really stress, is if you're not diving, you're holding the float. You're not going off and exploring. You're staying with the group. We never leave the group. If you need a rest, you can jump on top of the SUP where I can see you. I also emphasize, if you see something that is scaring you or bothering you, tell me immediately. Don't let it sit. Don't start worrying about it, and don't panic. no matter how much you think you're in trouble. If we're underwater, I'm right there next to you. And so I've only had one situation where someone got really panicky underwater. And it was during the blackout risk. We were practicing at like 3 meters, and she said it felt so real to her. She was scared I was gonna die. And
I'm sorry for laughing, but it's
yes,
yeah,
I know. I feel
yeah,
bad for her. We
yeah.
practiced a few times, and then I just said, you know what? Why don't we just stop? It's okay. We can come back. We can come back and do it another time. Just she was tired and cold, and we're getting close to the end of the session, so it happens.
It's also like why I like my courses are just 2 students to 1 instructor
Yes.
because people I think when you have more students, you feel more pressure to perform. And if you want to just say cut it, there's 4 other people or 3 other people that I may impact, right? And so when you have only 2 people in the course, it's much easier to be honest and just tell what you feel. There isn't this pressure from the group of, oh, let's all go or all leave or whatnot, right? So then more personalized approach.
Yeah. And that's why I like the sup, because if somebody's not feeling well or they're just like completely done, they can get up there and lay down and they can take a
Look
rest.
into that. I should look into
And
that.
yeah, and they can take a rest, especially if we're getting close to being done and we have like 15, 20 more minutes. And we talk about it as a group.
So what are some of the therapeutic modalities that you find align like most closely with freediving?
I think the reframing, maybe not a modality so much, but like a skill or technique. I had a student who kept getting tangled in her lanyard and was having just a hard time finding her flow with it. And on one time she came up, she was really upset with herself on the float. She was like, I'm so stupid. What the hell's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? And I was like, okay, hold. You're doing something new while holding your breath under the water. And it's gonna take you more than one dive session to kind of get used to being leashed to something. Right? You've been diving a while without using it. I guess her instructor didn't make her use one in her course. And I said, it's gonna take a few sessions to get used to it. We gotta figure out if you want ankle or if you want your wrist. I said, this is all normal. So cognitive reframing, we're normalizing the experience. We're turning it into, this is a skill-based issue. This is not a personality defect, okay? It's not a character assassination. It's a lanyard and the line. And 2 weeks later, you would have thought this lady was diving with the lanyard her whole life. And she was like, yeah, it's fine. Been a new student. She was like, oh, this is totally normal. You're going to get used to it. Like, it just takes time. Here, try this, move that. So just reframing.
That's why I
And
like to have lanyards from the very beginning, even though it's not really
absolutely.
necessary, because like if they go on to the next course and they're, oh, we got to use lanyards now, then there's like a whole nother like level of getting used to. But it
And
just
you
kind
don't
of
want
reminds
all
me,
level two.
like for myself, I like playing golf as a social thing to hang out with my friends. I don't practice golf, but like when I find myself getting angry at shanking a shot, I'm like, why am I angry? Did you practice? No, you didn't practice. So you can't, you can't. You have no justification for being angry. You're gonna suck because you didn't practice, right? So yeah, it's just all right. Cool. Let's just have fun.
It's normal to not know how to do
Yeah.
something well until you practice.
Yeah.
And I just see so many people coming into our sport with this thought that they're going to be perfect at it immediately. And I asked them, when you go to the gym to lift weights, are you perfect the first time too?
Yeah.
Or running on the treadmill or any other sport? And some people say yes, and that's a deeper issue, of course. But like, it's this normal. And plus, like, why are you putting so much pressure on yourself for a hobby? You're supposed to be having fun. So I like to incorporate a lot of play. So like play therapy stuff. And then the other would be like somatic experiencing or somatic awareness, feeling your body safely, finding safety, pockets of safety in your body so you can dive, understanding what you're capable of. And I think too, it's also problem solving and the solutions focused approach. That's what freediving is. Like you got to figure out what happened with your EQ here so we can fix it for later. So we take out all those judgy words. We take out all the like, I'm dumb, blah, 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 blah. And I hate to minimize it like that. What we really want to focus in on is, this is what you did, like the shit sandwich. You left your duck dive. Yeah, you went around in 5 circles, but like You made it back to the top. Okay. What can we do to avoid the 5 circles next time? Maybe we get down to 3. Because I had one person who just spun around the line the whole time. She did that for a couple months and then she finally figured it out. Now she's a 20-meter diver.
Awesome. I think it's good to know like everyone has a different journey. Some people are going to nail it from the get go. Some people are going to take a while.
Absolutely.
It's just practice, and everybody can free dive, right? It's just you're going to learn slower than some are going to learn faster than others, and that's just the way life is with everything else. Why is it different from free dive?
Yeah, it's no different. It's no different. I think having an instructor who matches where you are and can have that patience is also real important because it's not, this level of support is not for everyone to do, right?
Yeah.
So
have you ever had an instance where sort of holding your breath, descending underwater, trigger any emotional release or catharsis?
it's happened
Tell me
to
about it.
me. It's happened to me. I think you were there for one of them.
Oh yeah, Thailand.
Yeah, Thailand. I had finally did my last dive for my instructor course, and you were there and you recorded it. And it had taken me a while to get to 30 meters. I was having some whatever was happening. I can't go pinpoint it right now, but it was definitely a fear of failure, which prompted me to fail up until. But this failure was perfect because I did the dive, but when I got back up to the surface, I burst into tears after my recovery breath because I had been carrying around this pressure for 9 months. And in the 1 week, I got from like 22 meters to 30, which I thought was pretty fast. But I don't know. That might be for some people that took forever. For others, that, maybe that's normal. But it was a lot of, okay, am I finally good enough now? Do I get to belong here now? Do I finally get to fit in? Am I going to be accepted? And some other people I've trained with, they come up from their dive, they do the recovery breaths, they are bawling their eyes out from messages from their past. Like, who do you think?
I think that's one of the things your theory, which was most interesting to me, in that some of the feelings you get when you're underwater, where there's like holding your breath or feeling that pressure on your chest, is a trigger because that's how you felt during some past traumatic events, or that's how your body reacts to some of the traumatic events. And so it's a great, I guess, tool to overcome, or impetus to sort of overcome that reaction, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad you
And
brought
conquer
that up.
that fear.
Yeah, because the Bohr effect, right? The pressure on the body. No, Boyle's law.
Boyle's law, yeah. Bohr effect is the hemoglobin bond
Sorry.
oxygen.
So the pressure of the wetsuit on your core in your middle section, and then the pressure of the water pushing on you, it can recreate that tension, the physical tension that we could have held in our bodies when we went through a stressful event or a traumatic event. And so then you add holding your breath. And oh, by the way, CO2 is also, distress is experienced as panic or anxiety because that's the reason why it exists, right? So you add that extra layer on top of wetsuit compression, water compression, and then now you're having CO2 burning, or you have like your diaphragms doing things. That's like a recipe for, oh shit, like something is really wrong and I got to get out of here right now. That's when you see people kind of zooming up the line or zooming up really fast. They come up to the surface and they're visibly shook. And it's because of what was going on. And so definitely can be a trigger and something to watch out for. And I've worked with a lot of free divers where they've come and told me about different events. And bringing the awareness to the situation and having kind of that pre-knowledge has been the medicine that they need. Building up the awareness of, okay, this X, Y, and Z is normal. It's going to happen. What's your plan?
So besides some of the tools we use to relax before a dive, are there any we could go over now to do on land?
Yeah, and I think you should show the clip of us doing coherence breathing.
Yeah.
Because the coherence breathing,
It's amazing because it's so simple. It's nothing fancy.
Yeah.
And it's not only like, I like it when Eastern medicine or religion, like ancient sort of healing things, modalities, like this breathing cadence is consistent with mantras, prayers, chants, and all different kinds of religions and Eastern medicine. And it's actually science-backed because, how would you put it? Like, it increases blood flow to your brain and it makes your heart and your lungs work at peak, how would you say, efficiency, right? And so
it's coherent because it aligns your nervous system and your lungs and your mind, your brain all together. So you are congruent and in alignment with yourself. So guess what you're empowered to do after that? Get into your mental cortex, problem solving, seeking connection, not looking for threats in the environment. Your vibes, you have good vibes, you have good dives. So I think doing coherent breathing for 10 minutes before you prep to get in is good. And also you can do some of the vagus maneuvers we've done many times at Deep Week and then at Depth Rehab, where we do that interoceptive body scan. We check our blink rate. We check our breath rate. Are we breathing into our diaphragm or are we breathing into our chest? So if you're listening, check and see where you're breathing. Are you a chest breather? Or are you breathing in your diaphragm? Nice and deep in bottom lung breathing, So 5-10 breathing is one of my favorite, parasympathetic hacks. So you would inhale for 5 through your mouth. Do you want me to demonstrate it?
Yeah.
Okay. So making sure you have a hand on your diaphragm, you want to inflate your stomach like a balloon. So we're going to go in, make a suction with your mouth. I want you to really see if your throat muscles are engaged with this process. So you're going to fill from bottom up. So, hold for 2 seconds. You should have air up to about here, up to like right above your chest. Now we're going to exhale for 10 with the hiss, dropping your shoulders down, sinking into your chair. If you're driving, don't do this. Okay. Inhale again for 5 seconds, filling the gut, and exhale. On this exhale, release your glutes, dropping your shoulder. Last one, big inhale, and let your whole body sink as you release. I like to end
I'm
this
ready for a
from,
nap.
I know, we're going to do two sides. So you're going to inhale. Well, Bray's yawning. Yeah, it's powerful. If you are angry and you do this breathwork practice, you will no longer be angry. And if you're having sleep issues, I recommend doing that 5 to 10 times before bed. But this is also something, again, you can do to prep for your dive before your agency-based relaxation breathe-up process. Make sense? So we're not going to do 5 to 10 breathing and then dive. We're going to do what you learned in your course on how to prepare for your dive. So usually it's tidal breathing, big inhale, hold your breath, go.
I think the key thing is that we do not want to manipulate our CO2 levels either up or down. We want to kind of stay at homeostatic levels of CO2.
But you can do that
Until
on land. Yeah. Because
when you're waiting for you're resting and another diver's diving and you're just resting. Yeah.
So
what are some of these things like you got the
Yes.
hand and behind the neck, and what I love is this one
Yes.
right hand on heart, left
Here.
hand on the.
This is your inner
Right.
freediver work. So you put a hand on your heart.
I can
and
already
on-
feel like I'm gonna yawn.
Yes, this is Ray's
I love
favorite,
this position.
by the way. Yes. And
So
you
if
can
you can't-
combine this with your coherent breathing practice.
I do, man. Like that's how I go to sleep. So if you're on the podcast, you're not watching it on YouTube. It's right hand over your heart, and then your left hand on your left cheek.
And then you lean into it. So you can tuck your shoulder and your elbow into your boob and then just kind of lean over.
Oh, look at I'm already yawning. Look at
I can't do it for long. So
so relaxed.
there's another one that's dive friendly. And actually, I'm going to put a video of this on my Instagram. So you're going to put a hand on the back of your neck, the base of your neck here, or the base of your skull, holding your neck. In your other hand, imagine it's holding the float. So we're holding the float, cross over, and you're going to put your head on your forearm. And you can do this to help yourself relax, during your relaxation phase. Also, watch one more time. And if you're listening, I have a hand on the back of my skull and the neck. I have my other palm on my forehead. You can also do this floating in the water. Just you'll be willy-nilly floating
I
around.
always yawn when I do these with you.
It's so relaxing.
That's how you know it works.
And and that's, I think, a key point to make about all of these. It puts you back into your body so fast. There's no side effects except, I don't want to say bliss, but like self-regulation is bliss because now you're in control of yourself. You're in control of your responses. You're not reacting. So you're really getting, you have all these techniques to use right now in the moment. And so what if you're on the bus and you're pissed off and you're doing this? It'll just keep people away from you. You're-
Well, sort of rubbing it as well, sort of like movement,
no, I don't
helping
think
it all.
so. I don't know. I mean, you can test it out. And then we have all the ear stretches that cause a top-down relaxation effect that we won't go too far into right now.
I think
And
it's worthwhile to mention now, while we're almost like an hour into the podcast, that at the end, we're going to talk more about what we're like, some of the events that we're going to put on this year.
yes, where you
That's
can do all
one
these in
listening.
person. Yeah. Stick with us. Stick with us.
Let's-
The last
let-
thing
The last thing.
I wanted to mention about land-based techniques is you can also hack the MDR a little bit on dry land with breath holding and ice packs. Maybe it's not, you can't do cold face immersion in a bowl of ice water. Maybe it's not practical. Maybe you don't have ice, but maybe you have ice packs. Put it on your thoracic spine or your upper back and put one on your chest and then work your way into having the ice packs on your cheeks.
I have
Take your time with
a
that.
face ice pack.
Or get a face ice pack, but it's pretty intense and you want to get used to it. And so if you pair that with breath holding, in 2 minutes, you can drop your heart rate significantly, 10, 20 points, 30 points, depending.
Now let's talk about transformations. You have like a memorable moment you had with a client experiencing breakthroughs or transformation underwater.
Yeah. I have many, many times seen people suddenly realize their capability and sail past any limitations. They just go right past them with the right support and the right safeties. They're so self-assured and confident in their body that they went from literally can't get off the boat into the water to maybe the next dive session, first one in, or providing support to the next new student because now they are comfortable, or them leading the next dive group for a recreational dive, making their own free dive meetup because they're so confident. Going from somebody who is so terrified, they're shaking, to really conquering that fear and overcoming it. The one I said that she was spinning around the line, she was also terrified of the dive site we went to because it was green till about 10 meters. And that became one of her favorite places to go train.
I think similar to me, like I've seen, like the first 1 or 2 days of the course, they're just learning a new skill and they're a bit nervous, right?
Yeah.
And then, by day 3 or 4, they start to get some confidence in it. And then they're starting to really enjoy and learn how to enjoy the dives. And when they surface, you see like this joy
Yes.
on their face, like, and this is just, the purity of that joy is amazing. It isn't like anything external. It isn't because they bought a Gucci bag. They had a nice bottle of wine. It's just like,
Or a new dive watch or
internal.
fan.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of the same thing. But it's internal joy that I've never really experienced until I started freediving. So yeah, but
We are joy bringers.
But you're very unique in that that you can treat PTSD patients
I'm not.
with freediving. Is I don't think any normal, even like freedive instructor, could take that sort of task on. So those with deeper trauma, or trust issues, how do you address that so it'll be less intimidating for them?
Safety, building relationship or rapport, creating a therapeutic alliance, and so much education. And for me, and gosh, for anybody really, the therapy relationship between you and your therapist is 90% of your success rate for healing. That sense of safety, not trust, but safety. And I think it's the same in the freediving experience, knowing that that person's got your back and the confidence that they've been educated enough and that they can give you the tools that you need to heal and to freedive at the same time. And so the added layer though is I'm not saying any freediver instructor out there in the world is not able to do that, but I have those extra skill sets too, where I can recognize when someone's starting to tank right away through these facial expressions and body movements. And I know when something's going on, and then I have different questions that I can ask that are not not judgmental at all. And then we can take the time to like talk about it on the float. Whereas maybe in a bigger class or with other instructors, you can't do that.
Yeah,
That
we
would be
teach
all.
quite a small class as well, right?
Yeah. And then for those kind of things, it's private
Yeah.
session. And then I have my worksheets and the mapping tools. And so it's kind of a layered approach. We do a session online first where we map out the nervous system. They practice for a week, all of their self-regulation techniques. So it's not something new that they're doing in the water, which is very important.
No, like, so like most things, sports, right? You can kind of just show off and try harder. Like you're running, you can just like
Sure.
put more effort in, right?
Yep.
Freediving is not the same. You can't try harder to try to
Nope.
get depth and try to get
No.
more like your breath the whole time. And I think it's similar to, I guess, a yoga concept of pratyahara, letting go or relaxing. It's really, you just can't like push through it. So how do you help students make that that mindset shift to sort of not pushing and just letting go?
Well, I have them do a dive with the tension. I have them do a dive with their body super hard and tense. And tell me let's see how far you go. Push as hard as you can. Give me your best shot. And then they turn around and I say, now let's try it this other way. And let's be open to explore both options and see which one you think works better. You can pick. And then we do the body scan, the interoceptive body scan. Then we do some of the techniques that they breathe, and then they go, and we come back and we compare notes. So you don't have to push anybody into this. Just let them do it the way they want to, as long as it's safe. I mean, come on, we're day one. It's like less than, it's like 2 or 3 meters, right? Shallow confined water is really shallow. So go ahead, do it tense, do it stiff. And so they get that experience of, okay, well, now let's add this. Let's try this other way. And then when they see that the softness is what really works, can't fight the water. You're always going to lose. Always, always, always. And we find this out when we're getting in the water, putting our fins on, and you have these 1 foot waves, half a foot wave knocking you around on the rocks. Like, you can't fight that. You got to flow with it. So it's like we can build that all the way through.
Cool. Now,
Yeah.
so like once you have a student, they start embracing freediving, have you noticed any sort of changes of their like self-image, body image, or perception of how they are in a positive?
Yeah. Yeah. Confident. I mean, I work with a lot of women. You see a group of women coming out of the water with their long fins, their spearfishing gear, their floats, and their wetsuits. I mean, it's kind of badass. And it helps them shift their body confidence a lot. And they can see how strong and capable they are when there's a bunch of guys laying around the beach sunning themselves with their tiny fins and their little snorkel mask, and I know that might sound mean, upsetting, but it's just so empowering. And to set up your own float, carry out all your own weights, like to be strong and capable, it really shifts the mindset. It's a visible difference. You can really notice the changes. And you hear them. I swam with sharks. What do I have to be afraid of?
It's pretty badass.
What? Exactly.
Now, we all know like the first rule of freediving is never dive alone. And so we have a buddy system because of this, and which makes it freediving a very social activity. Does this social aspect of freediving enhance mental wellness and foster more of a sense of the community?
According to my research, it does. I have to find the exact numbers, but like 84% of people saying how much they relied on their dive buddy and their instructor to provide the safety needed. And people said, yeah, for me to feel psychologically safe in a dive, I need a strong, competent dive buddy. I really need to know that they've got my back. And so these social connections form And I've watched it in the communities here form some tight, beautiful relationships between people because now you're building a community.
Yeah. And why doing events like depth rehab or deep week sort of reinforce that?
Yeah, and I have meetups every month that are free for people to come meet each other and go diving. And then we do fun stuff. We do an obstacle course. I'm going to do a scavenger hunt next time. And it's just another way of like finding that social connection. But on the survey that I did, some people noted that getting into the communities also brought up a lot of relationship trauma for them and insecurities and issues with their self-esteem. So that's another whole area to ponder. But I think that's with any sport, you run into those kind of issues. And you can't
Yeah. Well,
dive alone. So yeah,
my
you
whole
need,
journey of freediving, I'm realizing there are some issues that are weighing down on me from my past, you know,
yeah,
life traumas
yes.
that I do need to shed if I want to dive deeper, which is weird because I think the incentive is I want to dive deeper, but not just for myself.
I mean, come on, let's be real. We do everything so we can dive deeper. And is
Yeah.
the motivation the same? If you didn't want to dive deeper, would you deal with it? Or would you let it still, so the
It's
motivation is
easier
there.
to just let it, like, it's not like, because I view it as not being harmful to me now. And so what's the
Right.
rush of doing it? But now, like, there's an actual, I guess, how should I say, tangible reason, tangible reason to dive deep.
That's so that's so typical though.
Uh,
Well, me too. I mean, come on. I'm
I mean,
fine
that's why
on
sports is
okay.
great. Sport is great because it gives us an impetus to become better human beings, nicer human beings, healthier human beings, and just more pleasant to be around when we have sports. And that's what I love about the power of sport. And
Absolutely.
free diving just has to be the one that we have chosen.
Yeah, it chose us.
Yes, maybe.
Chose us. Yeah.
So tell us about your journey of from being a therapist to the underwater therapist and combining these two disciplines, which I find incredibly interesting.
Tell you about the journey. It's been probably one of the
Your personal
hardest
journey.
things. Yeah, it's been really transformational for me and very hard in a lot of different ways. Because you just mentioned, well, I'm going to deal with this trauma because I want to go past 40 meters. Same. Okay. Same. And the way that I grew up in another country, I thought a lot of things were normal that are considered, but they were not on the standard trauma questionnaires that we have in the United States. And so as a therapist, you do your own work, right? You do your own therapy. And I had some very negative experiences during my instructor course and brought up a lot of stuff that I thought I had dealt with, but I hadn't, not like that. And so in the therapy process, kind of realized maybe Elaine has a little bit of complex post-traumatic stress from these events from growing up and from her previous marriage. So this is influencing. So I had to start dealing with that stuff and processing it and dealing with it. And it would come up during my dives. It would come up during deep weeks. And so my last few deep weeks, I was processing so many things of self-worth and confidence and competence and my own skills and sort of my just like, why am I doing this? Just like so many things coming up. And so dealing with through all of that. So I've had to work on myself throughout this entire process. And I practice what I preach. I self-regulate as much as I can. And of course, I have my moments. I'm not perfect. Let's remember, a therapist is a job, okay? It is not a personality trait, okay? And so there's times when I am not okay too, and being okay with that.
Yeah.
So this transformation was practice what I preach, doing more research, giving this information to as many people as possible because also with my clients I work with, just seeing their lives changing. My life is changing. I don't know. It's just, it's a paradox, but it's beautiful, but it's been painful. And I'm writing a book about trauma-informed freediving and all of these tools and experiences to pass on to other freedive instructors and students. And that has been just a growing experience. and has shown me so many different ways of healing. Freediving just happens to be another one we can add to the toolbox. So it's been transformational. I've traveled around the world just to go freediving and talk about this stuff. So it's been incredible. It's been incredible.
Not without its challenges, right? But if it
Right.
didn't have those challenges, it wouldn't have it feels so valuable or worthwhile
Man, I
or
feel like I
rewarding.
really earned this.
Yeah, for sure.
Worked really hard. I mean, and what everybody sees on social media is the tip of the iceberg. They don't see all the 4 a.m., 5 a.m., staying up really late. And that's okay. There's a lot that goes into creating all
So enough about ourselves.
right.
So if someone's intrigued by this idea, maybe have some mental health issues and want to combine freediving or to use freediving as a toolkit to tackle some of these issues, what are the first steps that you would recommend?
Send me a message. Look for an instructor who might have on their page that they're trauma sensitive or trauma informed. If not, I posted on my Instagram a series of questions you could ask your freedive instructor, potential one, to see if they're a good fit for you. Fit is everything. And do some, or message me and I can make some recommendations based on where you are. I know some really good freedive instructors in the world who are naturally talented and gifted. Yeah. And check out my website, my Instagram. There's lots of different information on there. Or talk to you. I think you have a fairly good idea of providing a safe space for people.
But also, this is probably a good time to start talking about what we have planned for this year in
Yes.
2025 in July in Bali, November in Taiwan. Why don't you tell us what we're planning to do? And I'm really excited because when I first started teaching freediving, this is exactly what I wanted to do, because I realized that what a therapeutic tool that freediving can be, and I found like the perfect partner to do it with. So I'm so happy.
We're excited.
Take it away.
Yes. So July, we're looking at Bali doing a total beginner course where we're going to implement a lot of these things we talked about already, plus your wave one course. And we're going to have breath work and yoga and nervous system mapping and practicing all of these different techniques real time. We're going to teach you how to track your heart rate variability. And this is how we track the health of our nervous system. We're going to have group activities. We're going to play games. We're going to do a scavenger hunt. We have pool days planned. We have fun dives planned. We have our line training days. It's going to be the complete total package for what you would want in a freediving course. We're going to build a community and just have the best time. That didn't sound cool and exciting, but go ahead, Ray.
No, but here's the thing, right? We're learning, and our students are learning a new sport.
Yes.
For practical reasons, we have 2, 3, 4 day beginner courses, but which is not ideal. I think a week is ideal
The week is perfect.
to learn freediving, and I think within a week, almost everybody will have a really good handle
Mhm.
of freediving. So that's one. Number two, I love that freediving. My idea is always using freediving as a Trojan horse to learning about, I guess, to self-regulate your nervous system, how to relax.
Yes.
Because, I have a background in finance. I had a lot of I didn't have these modalities, these tools, in my toolkit to use to calm down. I abused substances. I didn't sleep well. I didn't know. Only thing I knew how to do was to drink and go get a massage in terms of letting off steam or whatnot. I mean, I did found yoga for a little bit, but that that didn't last for a long time. And so I hope that people attending this retreat will have even if they never freedive again in their life, they're going to have all these tools to go back to when they find themselves in a stressful situation, and continue with the practices. So when they do have that stressful situation, they can go back to it and it'll be much more effective.
Yes. And after that rehab that we just did in Taiwan over Christmas, I felt like we built such a community. Everybody was so closely connected by the end. It was like you had this new family. And I think it's so key when you're doing these beginner courses to have that sense of community.
Yes, and I think if you are dealing with some mental health issue, you do have a professional
Yes.
available on hand, like Elaine,
Uh,
to help
yeah.
deal with it in a professional way. Because I think I'm a pretty good instructor, but um, I think some more of the challenging mental health issues I'm not qualified for. Right.
It can be intimidating and weird and scary and tricky, if that's not you know, your normal
And we're
thing that
keeping
you
it to
do.
9 people, just 9 people, to make sure that everybody has enough personal attention
Yes.
and a couple instructors. So it's gonna be, if you're looking for,
If you want a freediving retreat that has science-backed techniques that relies more on cutting edge nervous system education and practical ways you can learn how to reduce stress, relieve burnout, and manage your potential lived experience symptoms, this is the retreat for you. While we will have yoga, it's practical and
yoga science backed.
science. Science. Yoga is science backed. But I think it's going to be a different vibe altogether because it, because we're focusing on some different aspects, not just the relaxation part, but the self-regulation and being very active and involved in what's going on with your body, and then being able to have conversations about it.
And if you're thinking Bali and it's expensive and it's just crowded, the part of Bali that we're going to is wonderful. It's like the old Bali. It's in northeast Bali, around the area called Ahmed, which is where a lot of the freediving happens in Bali. And it's like a sleepy fishing village. So how Bali was many years ago.
Yeah,
And in November, we're gonna have it on the island that
Yep.
I live on in Shell, which you've been to twice now. And this place is it's off the beaten path. It's a hidden gem. It's definitely got some nice vibes. It's not overrun with forest.
Learn how to run
You should go.
scooter.
Yeah. But for more information, we haven't hashed out all the details yet on it. We're still working on it. Just click on the link in the description to sign up for our email list to notify you when we are taking students.
Yes.
And look out for the next episode where Elaine's going to do
There.
some work on me.
Because
Because I'm on. I do have a depth target I need to hit for to upgrade my instructor certification, and so let's
what's
clear all
the
of this.
target?
50 meters.
We can get you there. Easy peasy.
All right.
Yeah. Well, this was awesome, Ray. Thank you.
And thanks for coming on and doing all this awesome work in mental health and freediving.